Prince Apollo, son of Queen Themis, and Prince of the Celestial Republic Terra Firma. Do you consent to this surgical procedure, the cortical harvest? Affirm now.
Oh, sure.
Commencing cortical.
You know, my mother likes to tell people I was named after an ancient mythological god. A god even before the common god. You know, the one that inspired the great book. That was before religion was banned, of course. I like to tell people I was named after the rockets that first carried the Earth man into space. You know, Apollo 1-3. That was over 200 years ago. I think it's more exciting, more fitting for a prince, wouldn't you agree?
Surgical assistant is not programmed to provide opinions regarding human nomenclature.
Right. We all have our place. I was born a prince like all other celestial princes and princesses. In much the same way the ignoble are born into their populations. Really the only difference being that I was guaranteed survival.
Life form detected.
Oh, this is not simply a plant robot. It's a vegetable. People used to eat it. I believe they called it broccoli.
Unauthorized plant-based life form detected.
Yes. I took it from the inventory of the Royal Agriculture Museum. There are so many of them in there, so I just took one. I don't know. I like the way it looks. The color, green. You don't really see green all too often anymore.
Unauthorized plant-based.
Oh. Apparently broccoli wasn't as popular as corn or potato. Corn and potato are quite rare nowadays.
Resuming procedure.
I like to read about the histories of our celestial republic. Yes, I read. I happen to enjoy it. I particularly find it to be riveting. Did you know that the Amazon was a geographical province with a rainforest and a river long before it was a systems provider of all goods and services? Hard to believe, but it's true. Frankly, I'm surprised you didn't know that, robot.
This surgical assistant is not programmed.
Also, did you know that before this time of kings, the population chose their leaders? They called them presidents. And before the time of presidents, there was an earlier time of kings. Rousing, wouldn't you agree?
This surgical assistant.
Things tend to repeat themselves. Yes, there is a lot of intriguing information in this history, in the old history, and even in our modern history. For example, most people don't know that our republic had 2 civil wars, but the first one was erased from the old history by the last ever Congress. Did you know there were 2, Robot?
This surgical assistant.
You did it, I knew it, you didn't. That's because the modern history only chronicles the one that resulted from the globalized media's takeover of the politicos. Yes, that's the cause of the last Great War. And the old history is getting harder to find. It's very provocative, and I think that's why the servers and the information satellites are being taken offline. There's too many wars in the old history and too many practices from these wars. I don't know if they want a new way of looking at it.
Cortical mapping established. Harvesting will now begin. Do you provide informed consent to this procedure? Affirm now.
Yes, I understand. I have been informed. I'll be asleep for a few years while you do your thing. Maybe the scribes will write me into their histories, and perhaps it will even be approved by the censors. my contribution to history. It is amazing, isn't it, how our AIs can now isolate and transfer certain cognitive processes from one person and put it into many, surgically. Ugh. Although surgery is so human, that really is the question. When did the human race as a whole lose the capacities of common sense and logic?
This surgical assistant.
I know not your thing, robot, but I can tell you, the smartphone era. Can you imagine what life must have been like back then? Smartphones and brainless people. Unfathomable.
Final message. The people of the Celestial Republic, terra firma, express their gratitude to their prince for sacrificing his cognitive abilities, known in the vernacular as common sense and logic, to provide the same to a new generation of the population.
Certainly. My pleasure. I mean, what was I really doing with them anyway? Can I tell you a secret, robot? I never much cared for princess parties. I mean, they're so...
Commencing cortical harvest.
And that was